To page 184.
He's like, they just zero heart rate.
Just water. Sorry, just water.
How many snapbacks do you have?
And that was on him, by the way.
The book discusses a compound. Okay, my turn. You should have your book open to 184. So yeah. You have your book?
Mine has reinforced binding.
Yeah, why not bring your book to class? That would be even easier than going back to your locker. Shut the door for me, please. Thank you, sir. All right. We're talking about creatine here. Now, are you getting this up here, McLean?
We already got most of that, yeah.
Creatine is a chemical that's available in muscles, and if your ATP levels are high, for instance, if you have just recently eaten, like all of you have, what will happen is creatine that's in your muscle cells will take phosphate groups from the ATP. If you remember from your regular biology, ATP is an energy molecule. And so the creatine picks up the phosphates and sits in your muscles just waiting, containing all these phosphates. Now, when your muscles start becoming active and your ATP goes down, the creatine will quickly give away the phosphate that it had, and that's why this arrow goes here, from creatine phosphate just to creatine. The phosphate is given away to some of the ADP that's floating around in the muscle after you've used all your ATP up, and recharges it back into ATP. Thus, this chemical called creatine is a quick way to recharge ATP within the muscle itself. And it's a lot quicker than having to wait on a mitochondrion to do it. Mitochondrions are real good at replenishing ATP, but they do it relatively slowly. So you've probably heard of this substance, right? Creatine, that you can buy, and I guess if you eat it, and you get more of that in your muscles. I don't know how well that works, but apparently people try it, and I guess it probably has some reasoning in there. If you don't have enough creatine, you don't recharge ATP as fast. So creatine is a quick recharger of energy in your muscles. Oh, y'all know who that is?
No.
Ben Johnson?
Very well. What?
He was the first big steroid bust in the in athletes. They found out he was doing steroids, and of course you've heard about it ever since. This shows a response of a muscle, and when a muscle contracts, basically a nerve signal is sent to the muscle, and this can be done not only with the nerve signal coming from your brain, it can also be done with a muscle stimulator, which I happen to have, and I'll show you today when we're in the lab how to use it. And I want you to all try over the next 3 or 4 or 5 days, try the muscle stimulator out. It's an electrode you can put on your muscles, and it sends a signal and causes the muscle to contract.
Isn't that called tensing?
Yeah, it's a tense. Yeah, that's a contraction of a muscle.
No, tensing.
T-E-N-S-I-N-G.
Yeah, like when the doctors usually call it tensing.
Oh, I don't know. Here is the time that the electrical signal is sent to the muscle, and there is a short period of time called a latent period that the muscle does nothing. It is within that time period that the the chemical reactions are starting to happen in the muscle to get it to contract. And I went over that with you last time. Do you remember the myosin cross bridges? The calcium going in and the myosin cross bridges attaching? Do you all remember all that? It takes a bit of time. That's called the latent period. Then there's a period of contraction when the muscle is shortening in length. And the force of contraction goes up during that time period. And then after the signal has stopped, well, this is an instantaneous signal. This is just a single signal. It causes a contraction, and then it'll go through a period of relaxation and go back to its original uncontracted state, or non-contracted state, I guess you'd call it. We call that whole thing a muscle twitch. Are y'all okay? Can y'all stop, whatever it is? Yeah. So this is, have you ever had an eye twitch or some muscle twitching? That's what this is. A single signal comes in and you get the twitch. Bam, bam. It's very quick. I mean, this is in milliseconds. Measured in just hundreds of seconds, you get a muscle twitch. And you've had it where maybe your eye's twitching real fast. You're getting many of these over and over again, just one after another, because you're getting signals being sent from your nervous system. And that's what we see here. Here's a number of muscle twitches, one after another.
Why?
Why does the nerve send a signal like that? That's a good question. I mean, if you're doing it with an electrical stimulator, then maybe you just want to do it periodically. But why do you get the eye twitch? I don't know. It's misfiring, probably. Firing that you don't need. If you stack the contractions, if you stack each twitch, if you get the twitches close enough together, what you'll get is a more forceful contraction each time. And the contraction will go up in its level of force. And if you get those twitches real close together, eventually it reaches a full state of contraction when the muscle is completely contracted as much as it can. We call this a tetanic contraction. Tetany, T-E-T-A-N-Y, is a word referring to full contraction. I'm missing my... Tetany.
Does that have to do with like tetanus?
Yes. Tetanus is a disease you can get from a bacterial infection. If you step on a rusty nail, you get bacteria living inside you. They secrete chemicals that cause your muscles to tense up. And a person who has tetanus has a full contraction of all their muscles, and they can't move, and they die.
What about rabies? When it makes your jaw lock? Is that the same thing?
Makes your jaw lock. It probably has something to do with that. I'm not exactly sure about rabies, but that's why you get a tetanus shot. Some kid on a merry-go-round. Don't know why it's showing that. Every muscle has what we call an origin and an insertion. The origin of the muscle is where the muscle is connected with tendons to a bone, and that area does not move. The origin is a stuck area where there's no movement of the bones. The insertion is a moving area where there is movement. So here's your biceps muscle, and you can see why they call it the biceps, because it starts as a single piece and then branches into two pieces. This is your big upper arm muscle. Well, in me it's very large, and y'all probably not. But anyway, it attaches here to the coracoid process of the scapula right here, and the other side attaches to another part of the scapula. so both parts attached to the scapula. And that's the origin. And the other end, the insertion, attaches to your radius bone. Remember that bone? So that when the muscle contracts, remember the origin side doesn't move. So when this muscle contracts, it's not the scapula that moves, it's the radius. And the radius is pulled up. So that's how you move your arm up. You send an electrical signal from your brain that goes to the biceps muscle. The biceps muscle contracts, and the arm comes up. And so, when somebody comes up to me on the street, and I go like this, I've had to contract my radius to do that. And a bunch of other muscles that are about to be unleashed upon this poor soul that's confronted me about whatever money he thinks I owe him. There are 600 some muscles in your body. And so when you're moving around, and when I'm doing this, why I'm doing this, I'm not too sure, I'm probably using most of them. That's how I dance. Usually clears the floor out, I've noticed. When I start dancing like that. So isn't that interesting? So you contract your biceps muscle and it comes up, contract your triceps muscle and it goes back. We call these two muscles, we say that they're called antagonists because they work against one another. Muscles always come in antagonistic pairs. One muscle pulling one way, another muscle pulling the opposite. Every movement has an opposite movement to get back to where you started. So, you use these antagonistic pairs. If you want to make your biceps bigger, you lift weights this way. If you want to make your triceps bigger, you push something down that way. And so you got to work both muscles. If you're just going like this and not pushing anything down, your biceps will get big, your triceps will stay small. In games like football, you need them both, so you work both of them. So you're going to have to go through and memorize a bunch of muscles. And I have ID sheets. Which I left in the other room. Nope, I got it right. This is the new ID sheet.
She's going really
For
bad.
this
What?
She's going really bad.
chapter, I guess.
Please zoom down.
Nope, it's not that. So, need to wash it.
Mr. Wills, is that all?
No,
Okay.
we're going to go through and do all these muscles.
Just keep showing the skeleton.
Yeah, show the skeleton.
So you can set on the desk.
Yeah, but there's like a weird glare though.
You're wearing blue.
Okay, these muscles, they're all on your sheet there. We're going to do all these are the major muscles of the body. Remember, you have 600 something of them. But we're only going to do 40 muscles or so. So we're just going to do the major muscles. The minor muscles, I'll let you worry about if you're going to be a doctor one day. Can you all pay attention, Leah? We're also going to do the muscles of on the back of the body here, and the muscles of the face, which sometimes you hear about. And so, what I want to do is I want everybody to do this. I know some of y'all, you maybe think you're too cool or something to do it. But I'll say the word, and I want you all to repeat it. Because the hardest thing about these words is the pronunciation. And after you've actually said it once, it'll be easier for you to remember how to say it when you're in there reading it. Because I don't want to be correcting your pronunciation for each one of these, because there are some people that will mess up every one of them. So I want to try to avoid that if possible. Okay? So I say the word, and you repeat it. Okay? The forehead muscle here is the frontalis.
Frontalis.
Okay, let's try to do it where we're all saying it at the same time, please. Okay? Let's try it again. The forehead muscle here is the frontalis.
Frontalis.
Very good. The muscle that goes around the eye, that causes your eye to squeeze shut, is called the orbicularis oculi.
Orbicularis oculi.
Very good. There's a muscle that runs along the cheek here that causes you to smile. That's the zygomaticus.
Zygomaticus.
And a chewing muscle here in the cheek is called the masseter.
Masseter.
There's a muscle that goes around the mouth that causes you to be able to purse your lips. It's the kissing muscle. Because you be able to do that. It's called the orbicularis oris.
Orbicularis oris.
Orbicularis oris.
Orbicularis oris.
Very nice. There's a muscle that comes down the front of your neck here, and it attaches to your mastoid process, and it causes, when it contracts, it causes you to pull your head to one side or the other, and that's called the sternocleidomastoid.
Sternocleidomastoid.
Try it again. Sternocleidomastoid.
Sternocleidomastoid.
Okay, better. The big shoulder muscle here that causes you to pull your arms up, that's the deltoid.
Deltoid.
Come on, everybody at the same time. Deltoid.
Deltoid.
Now, the big chest muscles in the front, when they contract, they cause you to pull your arms forward. Those are the pectoralis major.
Pectoralis major.
There are some muscles here underneath or attached to your ribs that cause you to pull your chest, pull your ribs outwards when you're breathing. The serratus anterior.
Serratus anterior.
The big muscle of the upper arm is the biceps brachii.
Biceps brachii.
Another arm muscle that's a little bit further down is the brachialis.
Brachialis.
And then a forearm, don't do that, Michael, please. A forearm muscle here is the brachioradialis.
Brachioradialis.
Very nice. And then on the side of your torso, your external oblique.
External oblique.
And then your six-pack, your abs, which is actually 8 of them, but it looks like a six-pack because you don't see the bottom ones very easily. The rectus abdominis.
Rectus abdominis.
Rectus abdominis.
Rectus abdominis.
Good. Now, it gets tough. There's a muscle on the side here that allows hip movements called the tensor fasciae latae.
Tensor fasciae latae.
Tensor fasciae latae.
Tensor fasciae latae.
That's right. Yeah, it's actually it can be fasciae or fasciae. Either way, I've heard it pronounced. There's one going here, one of the muscles of the groin that kind of cuts across right here, the sartorius.
Sartorius.
One of your quad muscles is the rectus femoris.
Rectus femoris.
I feel like everyone's not doing it. Rectus femoris.
Rectus femoris.
And then there's another groin muscle that goes in here on the inside, adductor longus.
Adductor longus.
Do you remember the word adduction when you bring the leg in? That does that. Another one of your quadriceps muscles, vastus lateralis.
Vastus lateralis.
And that's kind of on the outside. And then on the inside, you have the vastus medialis.
Vastus medialis.
And then running along the inside of the leg again, the gracilis.
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 Very good. Then down here, one of the muscles running along the outside of the leg, fibularis longus.
Fibularis longus.
And then this muscle in the front that cramped up on me when I was skiing this last weekend, the tibialis anterior.
Tibialis anterior.
Yeah, that was bad. I was kind of stuck. The big calf muscle is the gastrocnemius.
Gastrocnemius.
And then there's another one further down on the leg, the soleus.
Soleus.
And then finally, we have the extensor digitorum longus.
Extensor digitorum longus.
You remember flexion and extension? Flexion, extension. To extend the digits, or the toes of the digits. Extensor digitorum longus. Okay, so tomorrow I'll go over the other muscles in the back and in the head with you. What we're going to do now is start on these IDs. You can start here with the muscle sheet. I got a bunch of them. Or if you want to go straight to the facial muscles, you can. Or you can go ahead and skip all the way up to chapter 9. You don't have to start